Now what? This is what's happening. He's making her feel guilty, like she's let him down, giving him the upper hand and making her once more easy to manipulate. Obviously the whole point of this is that she didn't want, she was kind of ready to say that, fuck yeah, I'm tired of you constantly manipulating me, but now that he's kind of made her feel guilty, he's got the upper hand, and now she's going to be manipulated again into doing those things. Thinking about it, obviously, now I'm like, well, you know, maybe you don't need a map to find the treasure. Maybe he could have just told her where it is, and then but maybe the whole map thing could be a thing of their dynamic. So we're gonna go back up to the beginning. In fact, actually, funny story. When I used to work in a bar, I used to work with my friend Johnny, and me and Johnny would always leave each other like little maps of where we'd hide each other, like a cigarette or something, and we'd come back behind the bar and we'd leave each other like a little map. So maybe the whole map thing could be something in their friendship. So we're gonna make the whole map thing a thing, so that it's a pattern and it's a motif and it's something that repeats in order for this whole thing to make sense. We're gonna open. The first scene is going to be April is looking at a hand-drawn map of a room in the house party. She follows it and finds a joint, a spliff, a doobie, as the youth say. Finds a joint that Malik has left her. It's their thing. April tries to go back on the next bus the other way in order to go where the homeless guy hopped off to try and find him. The bus driver doesn't want to let her in. She acts like a homeless person and tries to use the other passengers' sympathy to get them to give her bus fare the same way the homeless guy did earlier. But what she's essentially doing is using manipulative techniques in order to get people to do things for her. Yeah, she's essentially becoming that very personality trait that she doesn't like with Malik, which I think is kind of a good, I don't know, it's a good enough development of character for now anyway. It fails. She has to get off the bus. Now what? She could try and steal a car, I suppose. The car owner arrives. She has to hide. The driver goes in the right direction. Now obviously, if this looks like it's too good to be true, there's a reason for it, and we're obviously going to go somewhere else with this. The driver takes a right when she was hoping for a left. She has to pretend she has a gun.
Let him have it.
Which she points at the back of the driver's head.
Who are you? Watch for my sign.
In order to get him to drive her where she wants. The driver accepts. The driver asks if she's doing all of that for someone. Something like that. Essentially what I'm trying to do here is to have another character talk about the theme and, you know, the stuff that we do for people and blah blah blah. And if so, are they worth it? The cost is, obviously, April is now pondering that very question. We're going to make the driver someone a bit depressed. The driver says that he'd love to have someone to fight for the same way. Essentially, we're going to make him a lonely person that doesn't really have anybody in his life. They arrive near where the homeless guy hopped off, and she sees a group of homeless people in the distance. This is her moment. She tells the driver to stop there, but the driver won't listen and keeps driving. He doesn't even care if he dies because he's got no one to live for. She has to jump off the car. The driver crashes the car into a wall down the road. It catches fire. She now has the choice. Tough decision to make. Go and help the poor guy, or go find the homeless guy with her jacket. She gives up on the jacket for now. I think she has to. This is the heavy price she has to pay. She gives up on the jacket for now. Where we're going with this is that through this journey, she will kind of be either being helped by people she doesn't know, but that still want to help her, or she will be forced into having to help people that she doesn't know, but not because she's being manipulated into doing it, but because she knows it's the right thing to do. I think this would be like a good way of making her eventually realize that she doesn't want to have anything to do with Malik in the end, because I think we're going somewhere there. And runs towards the car. She pulls him out of the wreckage. Luckily he's alive. She calls 999 or 911 or 17 or 19 or wherever, it depends where you are in the world. She calls an ambulance. That makes it easy. That being done, she doesn't stay and hopes there is still time to catch the homeless guy. But no one is there. So yeah, if you've been paying attention, you've seen that, we kept this dynamic, which I think is quite good because it keeps the reader on their toe, hopefully. How about she gets a phone call? It's Malik again, asking if she's found the jacket. But this is now the moment where she starts losing it a bit. She loses it. Tells him she's had enough of him manipulating her into doing what he wants. She's tired of doing all the work. If he wants this treasure, he's just gonna have to work out where he put it exactly. Obviously this sounds a little bit weird that he doesn't remember the exact location, but maybe it was a small treasure, buried in a very, very specific place in the ground or something like that. And unless you know exactly where it is, then you'd have to look for everywhere. And that's gonna be our justification for now anyway. He says that even though he does remember vaguely where it's buried, it's still going to be tricky to find because it's buried in the cemetery next to the house party. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it's essentially a place where there's loads of holes everywhere, and so you need a very specific location, otherwise it's going to be very hard to find. Okay, we'll go with that. Also, it might be tricky because the police might still be around. She says she's going to walk back to the house and that it will take her about 3 hours. To turn off her phone for now, because she's almost out of battery, you better call her back in about 3 hours. He also better remember the location by then. Obviously, she's kind of done something very active by saying, no, actually, do you know what? It's in your hands right now. You got to do it. So I think a good cost for this would be that he hangs up and she doesn't know if it's because he had to or because he's upset. Because I think ultimately she still loves him. They're still friends. So it would upset her to think that he's pissed off, which is what she needs to get away from, I suppose, with her friendship with him. Is that the whole manipulative and the whole toxic thing of where he emotionally manipulates her into believing certain things. She eventually gets to the house in the cemetery. The police is indeed still there. She turns her phone back on. Let's say he calls back, says he's sorry. Hey, why not? That he thinks he remembers where the treasure is. He starts guiding her. She somehow bypasses the police. We'll work that out later. So yeah, he guides her 10 steps to your left, and then 3 steps forward, and then something like that, I don't know. And she gets near where the treasure is, but it's a cemetery. There's a funeral happening exactly at that spot. And I tell you what, we're gonna make this at night, and it's some weird ritual funeral thing going on. People dancing around the grave, maybe a fire even. something to make this whole scene kind of a bit more threatening. She arrives and there's all these people who are just dancing around the grave exactly at the spot where the treasure is. Okay, she's gonna be clever. She grabs some clothes left by the people. She pretends she's in the funeral. She starts dancing around with everyone. You know, this could be like a proper, slightly scary moment, trying to get closer to the hole where the body is. In fact, she sneaks into the hole looking for the treasure. How about we say the hole in the ground shows no casket, just a body put in the ground in a bag. That's their thing. You know, that's the way they bury their people. I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like weird spiritual people that just, you know, back to earth or whatever. We could go with something like that. So she sneaks into the hole looking for the treasure. She's next to the body. Someone sees her, follows her into the hole to catch her. She somehow escapes and starts running towards the gate, but gets arrested by the gravedigger, who holds a gun towards her because she's trespassing.
Which means you're trespassing on private property.
With a gun pointed at her, she has a conversation with the gravedigger and realizes, oh, okay, hang on, I've got something, that he was the guy she spoke to at the house party. So maybe, okay, if we're going back up, it's their thing. She shares the joint with a guy, which we'll see later. Bear with me with this. The guy in question tells her about something he really wants, but was never able to get. She says she might be able to help, but she doesn't, and just walks away. And now he's a character that was there at the very beginning of the story. He appears again. He's happy to let her go, but mentions the guy she was with at the house party. Well, Malik. He was a right dick. She realizes that she is still doing what he wants her to do, and that ultimately she doesn't even want that treasure. Oh, and also, after seeing the funeral and what all of these people were doing for their dead friend, she realizes her own best friend would never do something like that. Essentially, this is the moment at the end where she realized, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for someone who doesn't care about me, and why should I? Maybe he's not happy to let her go. Maybe he doesn't let her go straight away. She asks the gravedigger if he still wants that thing he spoke to her about. Says yes, obviously. If he lets her go, she can find something that will help him, meaning the treasure. Maybe it could be some sort of money that she could use to help him do something with. Oh, okay, here we go. So the next scene is she gets him to help find the treasure, which she gives to him. While they're searching for the treasure, they talk about digging holes and the fact that the gravedigger's job is pretty much just that. Holes, tunnels, and is really good at it. She asks if there is any way he could do her a favor. Back at Malik. He is still in prison. He hasn't heard from April in months. One of his fellow inmates who just came back from a visit hands him a piece of paper that was given to him by a mysterious visitor. Malik recognizes April's handwriting. He runs towards where the visits take place, but he misses her. Back in his cell, he opens the paper. It's a map. Once again, he realizes it's a map of the prison and of the subterranean areas of the building and finally realizes it's a map for the way out as he sees a tunnel leading to somewhere unknown. Okay, I'm happy with that. I think she's finally managed to get away from his manipulation. She's helping him out one last time and allows him to escape, but that's it, she's done with him and she never wants to have anything to do with him anymore. She's realized her past mistakes. So yeah, I think it works. Just try and find it a name for it. Something about treasures, something about, you know, Treasure Island, something Treasure Island. But it's also something about being manipulated and, you know, feeling all the pressure